All right. Shalom, Israel. You live with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Priest and Captain Soccer War holding down the class live from Memphis, Tennessee. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have classes here in Memphis from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Since 1969, the Israelite School of UPK has been teaching so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth according to the Bible. What is the truth? The truth is that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians descend from the greatest people that have ever walked the face of the earth. The Bible identifies us as the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And in the year 2023, there is nothing more important than for God's chosen people to learn the truth of who we are, where we come from, and what our purpose is on the earth. What we like to do with these classes is give brothers and sisters an opportunity to go into this book called the Bible to gain the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that the Most High has placed inside of this book in order for us to be able to come back to being the people that the Most High called us to be and to reclaim our righteous place on the earth as kings, priests, princes, princesses, and daughters of Zion. With that being said, I'd like to start the class off with questions. Any brothers and sisters have questions in the classroom, raise your hand. If you have questions online, all you have to do is type them in. For brothers and sisters who are in the Memphis, Tennessee, and surrounding areas, if you have family, loved ones, people you care about, get them in contact with the ISUPK. The classes here in Memphis are located at 3000 Walnut Grove Road, Suite 215. Again, 3000 Walnut Grove Road, Suite 215. The call-in number is 901-249-0085, 901-249-0085. Here in the ISUPK and the Commander General Yohana, we provide counseling, drug rehabilitation services. We have the food and the clothing program for brothers and sisters that's less fortunate. We can help assist you with getting housing. If you're a single parent out there, you have children who you having a tough time dealing with them and all the struggles that come with being a single parent, get in contact with the ISUPK. We can give you some assistance in that regard as well. Um, I just want to say, man, I'm very proud of the work that the Most High has enabled us to do here in the ISUPK in being a pillar and a rest haven for uh, the broken and the weary of our people who have been cast aside and uh, more or less forgotten in this society. The Most High has really provided a place for his people to be able to be protected and watched over and led and guided in the ways that can lead to us becoming a great nation once again. And in these days and times that we're living in, what's desperately missing in the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community is a safe place. Um, for the past few generations in our community, the places that we were taught and that we were told were the safe spaces for us to be able to grow and to process and to heal from our traumatic experiences being uh, second and third class citizens in this land called America. They've all been proven to be false. All of your religious institutions that were set up by your oppressor, all of the belief systems and the uh, doctrines that have been pushed on us to cause us to believe that uh, the ways that we were given could lead to us having success and thriving and prospering as a people. Um, we're in a time now where a lot of those fallacies have been exposed, and in the ISUPK, because what we believe and what we stand on and how we lived our lives comes out of this book called the Bible. We are in a position where we can not only challenge but correct the errors and the mistakes that have been made by those institutions and those places of uh, belief and of doctrines and of trains of thoughts that have led us astray. With this book, we're able to challenge them and to show them where they're wrong and where they're in error and expose to our people why all of these institutions and these places have failed us. Regardless of who you are, what you believe, where you're from, it's very evident if you look at the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community that the Christian church has failed us. If you're someone who grew up believing in Islam or grew up under another belief system, if you look at the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community, it's clear to see that Islam has failed us. If you're someone who was sold the American dream and believes that you raise your children to be good, law-abiding citizens, you send them to college to get a good education, they go out there into the workforce and be the best that they can be. Well, you can see if you look at the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian community that the American dream does not translate into prosperity and deliverance for our people in this place. There's only one way that we are going to be able to reclaim the greatness that we once had as a people, and it comes from going into the past, into the culture and the identity and the society or way of life that made us that great people long ago. And the answers to those, uh, to answer to seeking out that path and finding that way is in this book called the Bible. And the keys to unlocking that knowledge and that understanding and that information resides here in the ISUPK. And so in 2024, as more and more the strongholds of American idealism and of democracy and capitalism begin to crumble before our very eyes, the answer for where do we go from here lies in the ISUPK and the Commander General Yohana and in this book called the Bible. And so tonight's class, the title is The Law of Righteousness. And I wanted to go into the Bible to show you that the law as it was given to Moses was designed to create a society that was governed by the laws of right and wrong, of good and bad, and of good and evil, and of righteousness and wickedness. But there's a reason why the law, as it was given to Moses, did not produce the society that the Most High intended from the beginning. There's a reason why Christ had to come and had to establish a greater standard for our people in order for the vision of God's kingdom could be able to be made a reality. Like Christ had to come to show us how to take what was written in Moses' law and to actually create the kingdom of God on earth. By just being given Moses' law, we were not able to create that kingdom. The society that was established for the 12 tribes of Israel, though it had the potential to be that kingdom that God desired, inherently there was an inability for us to create that place, given uh, the rules and the judgments that were established in the law. And so, again, tonight's class is going to be about the law of righteousness, which is the law that Christ established, and it is the same as the law of Moses. Christ just gave us the what's the word I'm looking for? He didn't give us. He didn't amend. I don't want to use the word amendment because it's like he changed something. But Christ gave us the uh man. There's a word I'm looking for. Christ gave us the Christ read in between the lines, right? We were given the law of Moses, and that's what Israel used to establish our society and govern our people, right? Christ had to come along to take what was written in the law of Moses and to read between the lines so that we understood what the purpose was from the beginning. Just looking at the black and white of the law, we understood the instructions of the law. But Christ came and had to say, okay, y'all been following the instructions, but y'all missed the spirit of what was intended. And the intention of the law of Moses is what the law of righteousness is. And so that's what we're going to tonight. All right. Man, I just said a bunch of precepts that I can't remember now. Bothers me when I do that. But let's go ahead. We're gonna get Romans chapter 10. We're gonna start at verse 4 and 5. All right, Romans chapter 10, verse 4 and 5. All right, this is Romans chapter 10, verse 4. It says, "For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth. For Moses describes the righteousness which is of the law, that the man which doeth those things shall live by them." Everybody understands? Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believes. What does that mean? That Christ is the end of the law. Let's be clear. When Moses gave the children of Israel the law that came from the Most High, the way that Israel received the law was, these are the do's, the don'ts, and the consequences of repercussions, right? That have been given in this law. Israel did not receive the law that the Most High gave to Moses as though there was a understanding that there were certain actions that you were never supposed to do. Israel received the law and read, there shall be a tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, right? Let me just go ahead and get that scripture right quick. I'm going to give you a practical example of what I'm talking about, all right? Okay, hold on. Hold on. All right, hold on. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Bear with me. All right, bear with me, y'all. Hold on, hold on. I'm looking for. Hold on. All right, hold on. All right, I'm gonna give you Exodus chapter 22, verse 1. All right. Exodus chapter 22, verse 1. This is an example of what was given to us in the law of Moses and how it was interpreted by Israel, and why did not the law did not create that righteous place that the Most High intended from the beginning. All right. This is Exodus chapter 22, verse 1. It says, "If a man shall steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep." Everybody understands? So here's a law that says if a man steals an ox or a sheep, man, you stole something of value from your neighbor, then now you had to pay that man back 5 times for the oxen and 4 times for a lamb. Everybody understands? So it's very clear. If you steal, you're gonna have to pay back what you owe, right? And how much you're gonna have to pay back. Israel was supposed to read that and say, you should never steal. Nobody should ever steal. That the law of righteousness is Don't ever steal from anyone. But the law of Moses said if you steal, you got to pay it back 5 times, right? Righteousness is always doing the right thing. The law of Moses gave you punishments for if you did the wrong thing. That is not a law of righteousness. Everybody understands? The law that was given from Moses gave us consequences and punishments for doing the wrong thing, but it did not make it clear that the wrong thing was never to be done. And so throughout the generations of Israelites, as you read in the Bible and you go through the different books of the prophets and the priests and different eras in our growth as a nation, you constantly see us as a people falling back into sin, falling back into rebelling against the Most High, falling back into wickedness and disobeying the law. And what made that seem acceptable to the people was that, hey, if I sin, if I do something I'm not supposed to do, I can make a sacrifice, man. I can go and pay back the Lord. I can make it so that I'm forgiven because I've paid the penalty or paid the fine. The law of righteousness that Christ established was that you would never do the wrong thing at all. There would be no need for punishments or for sacrifices because you would always just obey the Most High. And so the law did not create that perfect righteous society of Israel for that very reason. It wasn't until Christ came that it was made clear to everybody that the spirit of the law was that we would never do the wrong thing. Everybody understands? Let's get Exodus chapter 21, verse 24. All right. All right. Exodus chapter 21. We're going to go to verse 23. Matter of fact, let's get Exodus 21 and start at Exodus 21 and 1, and then we'll drop on down, all right? Exodus chapter 21 and verse 1. And it says, now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. These were the punishments that were given to Moses to tell the people of Israel concerning any disobedience or any rebellion against the law that was established, right? So let's drop on down to verse 24, just so we can get some clarity on what it is that Christ was quoting, which is the next scripture we're going to go to. Exodus chapter 21, verse 23. It says, and if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And if a man smite the eye of his servant or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go for his eye's sake. And if he smite out his manservant's tooth or his maidservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake. So this is describing, those last 2 verses describing being abusive to someone who works for you or being abusive to someone who serves you. If you're abusive towards a servant, then that servant gets to walk free. Everybody understands? But here we have it established that among our people, whatever you did, you reap what you sow. It was literally written into God's law that was given to Moses and given to the children of Israel that whatever you do to someone, you are going to receive the same treatment in return. The spirit behind this law was you shouldn't be abusing one another. You shouldn't be harming another person or taking advantage of them or hurting another person. Because the hurt that you put on somebody, that hurt is going to come back to you. The spirit of the law was don't hurt anybody. Israel didn't receive it that way. We did not embody the spirit of the law in our community. What we did was said, hey, if I knock that nigga eye out, it's all right. Somebody might come take my eye. But that nigga got it. I knocked that nigga's eye out. The law of righteousness was that you should have never taken someone's eye. Should have never hurt someone to the point of them losing their tooth, losing their eye or their hand or their foot. Everybody understands? Give me Matthew chapter 5, verse 38. That's good. We're going to get Matthew chapter 5, starting at verse 38. All right, we're going to read on down. And these scriptures here establish what was written in Romans 10, 4 and 5, how Christ was the end of the law for them that believe. If you believe in Christ, which means what? How do you show that you believe in Christ? You do everything he said to do. You follow in his footsteps. You let him live through you. If you believe in Christ, then you would be the way that he was. The way that he was perfect. He obeyed all of God's laws. He never sinned and looked for a sacrifice. He never disobeyed and said, well, I could kill this turtle dove. He never stole from a man and said to himself, well, yeah, I can pay back 5 times. He established the law of righteousness because he showed us that the intention of the law that God gave to Moses was for us to never disobey it, for us to never be cruel to one another or to be evil to one another, to never take advantage of each other or hurt one another. But being carnal in our flesh, we didn't understand the spiritual nature of the law that was given to Moses. All we saw was the carnal side of, well, hey, if I steal from somebody, I got to pay him back 7 times. We didn't see the spirit behind, well, I should never steal from a man, period. All right, this is Matthew chapter 5, verse 38. It says, ye have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you that ye resist not evil. But whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. Christ said, y'all didn't resist evil when you were given this law. Resisting evil would have been to say, well, I'll never hit a man because I don't want to have to be hit in return. I'll never knock a man's eye. I'll never black somebody's eye because I wouldn't want my eye to be blackened. I'll never knock a man's tooth out because I wouldn't want nobody to knock my tooth out. I'll never hurt a brother's right hand. I wouldn't want someone to hurt my right hand. This is what Christ was telling us we didn't resist. We should have saw this law that was given to Moses and said to ourselves, yeah, man, I'm never going to hurt anybody because I wouldn't want nobody to hurt me. We did not resist evil. So how do you resist evil? Somebody hits you, don't look for a lick back. Don't try to get revenge and get back at them. Turn the other cheek. They hit you, then you open up to get hit again. And so, you know what? I deserve that. For whatever reason, you decided to hit me. Now, this is not literal. Christ wasn't being literal when he was saying this. He wasn't literally saying let somebody punch you in the face. What he was saying was when someone does wrong to you, don't look for revenge. Don't look to get back what the damage is they did to you. You should put it in the. Well, I'm gonna give you what the law of righteousness is concerning the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Everybody understand? Christ is saying the way that you resist evil is don't look for get back. Don't look to hurt somebody that hurt you. They hurt you, turn the other cheek. Don't Don't even let it be known that it affected you, that it bothered you. No problem. It is what it is, man. You got it. I'm good. You take the what's the word they use nowadays when somebody set somebody up? Backdoor. Somebody try to backdoor you. It's all good. You got it. You got one over on me. It is what it is. I'm gonna put it in the Most High's hands. He gonna deal with it, but I'm not gonna look to get back. That's what resisting evil looks like. Everybody understands. Verse 40. And if any man will sue thee at the law and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. If somebody gonna take you to the law, they're gonna sue you before the heathen. Don't look to get back to them. Don't look to punish them and to make them pay. No problem. What you want? You want them a coat? Here, take the cloak also. You can have that too. I'm not gonna fight with you. I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not gonna what's the word I'm looking for? Dishonor myself by trying to countersue. Verse 41. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. If somebody try to convince you to go a mile with them, then guess what? Go 2 miles with them. Meaning what? Always give more than what someone is trying to take from you. And this is not about being a sucker. It's not about being a chump. This is about being the better person, being the bigger person, being the one to stop the cycle of violence, to stop the cycle of wrong being done, to stop the cycle of evil for evil. This is a lesson for us as a nation. This wasn't a lesson it wasn't an individual lesson. Christ is teaching a multitude out there. The only way we're going to be able to grow as a people is if we learn to forgive one another, is if we learn to let the Most High be the one to handle the people that choose to do evil. But don't you become evil in the midst of trying to get back at somebody for something they did to you, because that perpetuates a never-ending cycle of people having to pay for what somebody else did. And that's the present condition of the black community. How many wrongs have we suffered that people spend their whole entire life trying to get back for the wrong that happened to them? How many brothers were raised in a household where they had parents or family members that were addicted to drugs? Drugs wreck their house, wreck their family, wreck their whole childhood. Then they grow up and do what? They become a drug dealer. They're gonna go sell dope. They're gonna sell weed. They're gonna sell cocaine. They're gonna sell pills. How many young boys and young girls were raped and molested as children growing up, introduced to sex at a young age and in inappropriate ways, and then grow up and do what? Spend their whole life doing to someone what happened to them. It's not just the homosexual community. There's a lot of straight men out there who were molested as children that grow up and now they want to, all those men that used to come out of high school that was, 23, 24, driving cars, picking up girls from high school. They doing that. Why? Because when they was when they were children, somebody was molesting them. Somebody was, doing things inappropriate to them, or hell, I knew some cats when we was in high school. All the older dudes used to come get on the girls that we was dealing with. So guess what? When they 5-6 years later after high school, when it became their turn, guess what they did? They turned around and they the ones outside the high school picking up the young girls. You understand? Rendering evil for evil only results in a never-ending cycle of wrong being done, of evil being done. How many beefs and how much gang violence and crime that's committed today stems from some man that had a beef with a man 20 years ago. I grew up in DC, man. I grew up uptown. And I lived on 13th and Allison, but all my friends was from a neighborhood that was known as 7th and Taylor, right? 7th and Taylor. And the brothers that represented 7th and Taylor had beef with cats from a neighborhood a part of uptown called Rock Creek. Rock Creek and 7th and Taylor was about maybe 4 blocks away from one another. It's difficult to explain how this neighborhood was set up. But the 7th and Taylor cats used to beef with the Rock Creek cat. And in DC, the streets in DC are in alphabetical order. So they go, I'll give the streets that was nearby these two neighborhoods. It was Quincy, Randolph, Shepherd, Taylor Street, right? Everybody from that represented 7th and Taylor, they lived on Shepherd. They lived on Taylor. They lived on Varnum. They lived on Upshur Street, right? Everybody that represented Rock Creek, they lived on Randolph. They lived on Quincy. They lived on I forget the P Street that was right there. But for the brothers that lived on Shepherd, that represented Taylor Street, and the brothers that lived on Randolph, that represented Rock Creek, they shared a backyard. When you look out you live on Shepherd Street. Outside your backyard, there's an alley, and on the other side of that alley is the backyards of the houses of the people that live on Randolph. I know of 5 men, 2 lost their lives, 5 brothers that got shot in that alley between Randolph and Shepherd because there was beef. Now, why did Taylor Street and Rock Creek beef with each other? The story that I was told, being I'm outside, I'm moved in uptown from Maryland when I was about 11 years old. So I moved uptown around the age when, 12, 13 is when we started wanting to be grown and wanting to be and be down with something. And all the friends and the cats that I knew, they went to school with these boys that lived on Randolph and on Quincy. All Taylor Street and Rock Creek, they all went to the same elementary school. They all went to the same middle school and all went to the same high school. But somehow when they got to high school, now they beefing because y'all from Taylor Street, we from Rock Creek. The beef didn't start with anybody in our generation. It wasn't 2 brothers and 2 cats that we all knew that fought and got into it and now we beefing with each other. Nah. Taylor Street and Rock Creek had been beefing for 30 years. This was in 2000. This is 90, 98, 99 I'm talking about. When we started getting into the beef. But the story of why does Taylor Street and Rock Creek beef with each other went back to like the 82, 83. 2 grown-ass men had a beef over a woman. One cat fought the other cat over the woman, and now ever since then, one cat beat a cat up. Then him and his boys went and jumped him. Then they came back and they jumped somebody. Then somebody got stabbed. Then somebody got shot. Now everybody that live in this neighborhood gotta hate everybody that live in this other neighborhood because nobody was willing to end the cycle of violence. Nobody was willing to step in and say, "Hey man, we can't keep killing each other, y'all. I know y'all murdered my cousin and stabbed my brother, and I know all of the horrible things that have happened, but can we please put this beef aside?" And I remember I personally never was involved because I refused to put my life on the line for some stuff that I did not understand. And I still feel that way today. Call me a sucker, whatever you want. It never made sense to me to be involved in violence over some shit that had nothing to do with me. Now, I ain't talking about, it's been plenty of times we've been in the club and the fight break out, nigga, we fighting. Or somebody disrespect the folks I'm with, and nigga, we got to see about you. But I'm talking about, we ain't, nothing happened this time. We just see each other out in the public, and now we got to beef with each other because you from that neighborhood and I'm from this neighborhood. That always was the dumbest shit ever to me. But again, I'm a different type of cat. Maybe it's the Gadite in me or something. I don't know. But it stems from not having the law of righteousness amongst us. The never-ending cycle of violence that comes from no one resisting evil is why we in the condition that we're in today. And I know the story I just laid out about my experience uptown DC is everybody relates to that story. The Crips and the Bloods are 2 gangs today that nationwide have, sectors and followings, and they beef with each other based off of 2 men that didn't like each other in Compton, California in the 1970s. It's absolutely ridiculous. The law that was given to us was designed to teach us to resist evil, to teach us to not always want to take vengeance, to not always want to seek revenge, to not always want to harm your brother, even though he may have brought harm to you. Let's keep reading in Matthew chapter 5. We at verse 42 now. Give to him that asks thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn not thou away. Verse 43, ye have heard that it has been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Why would Christ be telling us to do this? Why would he tell you to be a sucker? Why would he tell you to lay down? Why would he tell you to let somebody take advantage of you and walk over you and to not hate them, to not curse them, to not get revenge, but to bless them and to do good to them and to not be mad when they despitefully use you? Verse 45, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. What does that mean? Is Christ telling us to be a bunch of suckers, to just be a bunch of punks, to just let people take advantage of us and abuse us and do evil and we do nothing? Just take it. I'm supposed to just take this shit laying down? What is the message that Christ is sending here? The message that Christ is sending is that bad things happening isn't the end of the world. Somebody take advantage of you, somebody get over on you, it's okay. It happens sometimes. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. The sun shines on the just, rises on the evil and on the good. Sometimes you're going to take a L. Sometimes you're going to suffer a defeat. Sometimes you're going to wake up and realize, damn, I was played, man. Now what should you do? It's been brought to your attention. You've awakened and realized it. Now you can see, damn, I was played. Let the Lord handle it. Put it in the Most High's hands. Because the consequences of you reacting or of paying someone back for something they did to you could, the repercussions could be felt for generations. Again, if there was never a time to understand that, look at the black community today and understand that the decisions of someone 30, 40 years ago have had lasting effects on our community all the way till today. I'm pretty sure if the, Tookie Williams could go back to the 1960s when he started the Crips, if he saw all that was going to transpire from what it is that he established, I'm sure he would go back and be like, you know what, man, we're not going to beef with these cats. We got to find a better way to do this thing that we're trying to do for our community. Sure, if the creator of the Bloods could go back and they saw all of what transpired from them forming their little crew and their little group, I'm sure they would have gone back and said, you know what, this is not the way. There's got to be something else that we can do. And it's the same thing today in 2024. We have got to recognize and acknowledge the power of our actions and the long-lasting effects that decisions made out of anger and out of spite and out of jealousy and out of rage, how they can permeate through the ages. These words that Christ spoke to us were spoken to teach us the spirit of the law, to establish the law of righteousness amongst us, so that we would understand and learn how to truly love each other and not be cruel in seeking to render hurt for hurt and pain for pain. Everybody understands. Let me drop that. Let's Um, all right. All right, let me get Romans chapter 12, verse 19. Again, the context of these scriptures needs to be understood is that Christ is speaking to Israelites concerning Israelites. A lot of times, religion has taken these words of Christ and tried to make them fit a planetary narrative or one world, one, we're all the human race narrative. Christ was very much a man who only gave a damn about his people. Today, if he walked the earth, he would be called a racist because Christ's speech and his actions were only dictated towards the 12 tribes of Israel. In conversations he had with people that were not Israelites, he referred to them as dogs. In conversations he had with non-Israelites, he referred to them as, he referred derogatorily to people who were not Israelites. So religion has caused us to have a vision of Christ as a man who loved everybody, when in reality, he was only a man who loved his people. And it makes his words more powerful when you understand that this turning the other cheek was only to your brother. Don't allow something your brother does to cause you to be violent towards your brother. Why? Even in Christ's days, we weren't rioting and killing Romans and revolting against the Romans. The dying and the death and the destruction amongst Israel that was happening in our community was amongst ourselves. The enemy he's speaking of is your brother. The cat that lived 2 blocks from you that you beefing with because of some shit that happened in the 1980s. Listen, the cats that I hung around, the guys that they end like over the years, from us being 11 and 12 until we was about 21, 22. As we got older, the violence amongst our generation uh continued to, like, it magnified itself. I remember the first time, I think it was like 13, we went to the mall and we ended up getting into a fight. No, it was older than that. It was about 15. I was about 15. Some of my partners was like 16, 17. I remember we went to the mall and we got to fighting with the niggas, the Rock Creek niggas. And I remember my man Ace got jumped. Ace had got jumped by the Rock Creek niggas. I'm about 14 at the time. I think Ace and them was like 15, 16. But I remember we fought at the mall. Ace got jumped. We came back home and we came around the way and they told the old heads, yeah, them niggas, Creek niggas jumped Ace. You know what I'm saying? Stomped him out and shit. And I remember we was mad about it. We was upset about it. I went home, and the next day I heard that a nigga from Rock Creek got shot. And I remember when that happened, it was like, damn. Okay, so they jumped Ace. So somebody just got shot? Damn. So now what? And then about a week or two later, that's when three other cats that from our crew got shot. And I remember they killed the dude named Crunchy Black. A brother named Ahmad got shot in the chest and in the arm, and my man Jiggy got shot in the back of the head. And it's like that was the ramp up. And from there, it wasn't no more somebody got shot, somebody got jumped, somebody got beat up. It was just people was dying. What's crazy is for them, like I said, I moved uptown when I was like 11, so I didn't grow up with these cats. But we went through the transition of being young boys to men together. So from my perspective, again, this beef that they had made no sense to me because Y'all beefing over some shit that happened with some niggas 30 years ago. Y'all niggas ain't even beefing. Y'all don't have no reason to beef. Like the niggas that fought at the mall and Ace got jumped, these were cats that they went to middle school and elementary school with. Like they used to be friends, used to hang out together, used to be cool with each other, known each other their whole life. But as soon as we became teenagers, we inherited the beef of some older generation of niggas, and now people getting jumped, people getting shot, people dying, and the ones doing the killing have known each other their whole lives. Like I remember being at parties. We in the club, and it's like these cats know the names of all the cats that they beefing with because they went to school with these niggas. The niggas getting our stories of, yeah, we caught so and so slipping. They know so and so because I known him since elementary school. I know what he looked like. I know what kind of car he drive. I know where his mama stayed. We used to sleep over at each other's houses. We know each other. I remember the girls from the creek used to try to come get with us, and our girls used to go get with, like, it was because we all live in the same neighborhood. If you look at the neighborhood, it's the same 5 square blocks. But the 5 blocks is divided because of this beef that we inherited from some older niggas. And it's just as a sad story, man, of by the time we was about 21, 22, those of us that had, that were still out of jail and weren't dead, it was just like, this shit's stupid, bro. Like, we're gonna keep beefing, keep like being scared to go places because you might run into Bamas. Like, that's crazy. I ain't trying to do this shit no more. And it wasn't until about then that we realized, like, this shit was stupid, bro. We just wasted the last 10 years of our life beefing and killing and hurting each other over some shit some niggas did 30 years ago. This shit's stupid. But by that time, so many people had died and so many people had went to jail, and there was so much. Now it was our beef. Now it was real. Now we understood why niggas hated each other. It's like we piled on to the evil cycle that had been, revolving since the 80s, and it was just like, man, this shit is horrible, bro. And I look at like the Chicago rappers are a famous example for these cats who their whole childhood has been in the public because of everybody knowing their names through rap songs and knowing the stories of they beef and people getting beat up and people getting shot and people getting killed. And now they in their late 20s, early 30s, and it's like, bro, this shit was stupid. And we did all that killing and dying for what? Like, niggas is dead. Niggas can't get niggas. Brothers is gone. So it's like you get to an age where you like, this is stupid, bro. Let's, like, we gotta squash it. But then it's like the world tells you nigga, they killed your brother. You gonna squash it? Nigga, they killed your cousins. It's like, I know they did. I know it's what happened, but bro, it's in the past. Like, we gotta put that shit behind us. This is what Christ was trying to drive home to us. At some point, somebody's gotta love the Lord enough to say, I'm not getting back no more. I'm done. It's out of my hands. I'm putting it in God's hands. And it's so evil that the world looks at someone who's in that position like they a sucker or they soft, or how dare you let bygones be bygones. It's like, nigga, what you want me to do? It's out of my hands. It's like I look at the Jeezy, when Jeezy did the verses with Gucci Mane. And Gucci Mane killed two of Jeezy partners. Who knows the story behind the wine? Who did what? The reality is Gucci Mane killed two niggas, and they was Jeezy's people. That was about 20 years ago. Jeezy like, bro, that's like we grown, bro. We in our 40s now. Like, I'm not finna. It's over. Let's just do this show. We rap our rap, sing our songs, and you know what I'm saying. Let's show the people that we can put this behind us. Gucci Mane is an ignorant ass nigga. He get on the stage and say, "Yeah, we smoking on your man." He rubbing it in Jeezy's face like, "Yeah, I killed your nigga. We gonna smoke on that nigga pack tonight." But Jeezy being the bigger man was like, you know what? You know what I'm saying? Hey, you still on that type time? I'm past it, bro. I'm done with it. And the whole world said Jeezy a bitch, Jeezy a hoe. You let that man talk bad about your man when we should be seeing that Jeezy ain't righteous. I ain't saying Jeezy, but the weariness that comes from being engaged in evil for so long is what Christ was speaking to when he said, I know it was said eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, but you don't resist the evil. You got to resist evil and to let things go. Sometimes you got to take an L. You got to suffer a loss. You got to say, yeah, they did that to me and it's horrible, it's evil, and I could get them back, but I'm going to let the Lord handle it. I'm putting it in God's hands now. And it's even saying it out my mouth feels gross because of Christianity. Like Christianity has made putting something in God's hands some magical thing. When it's putting it in the Lord's hands is not magic. It's not, oh, let God deal with it. No, that's putting something in the Lord's hands is the most masculine thing you can do in certain situations. Like it's the righteous thing to do, and it's never the easy thing to do. The easy thing is to always come up with a solution or to plan, plot, and strategize how I'm going to fix this thing or how I'm going to, get them back or how I'm going to feel better about this situation. To say, to pause and to think of all the consequences and the repercussions and all of the energy and the effort and the time that's going to be consumed, not to mention the emotions you're going to go through, trying to deal with something horrible, to be able to say, I'm going to put it in the Most High's hands. And I'm going to let him deal with it because it is beyond my power. That's what grown. That's a manly thing to do. That's a mature thing to do. That's a spiritual. That's a righteous thing to do. You understand? And being manly, being spiritual, being righteous. It's not magic. It ain't. It's not some fairy tale ability that people have. It's something that it takes time for you to develop. It takes time to strengthen that reflex. It takes discipline. It takes going through things in life to get to a place where you say, some things I can't handle on my own. I've got to let the Lord deal with it because I'm going to fuck it up. Excuse my language. I'm going to mess it up. And concerning vengeance and paying somebody back and getting them back for what they did, 99.9% of the time, you trying to do it yourself, you're going to fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. Resist the urge to want to fuck it up. Give it to the Lord. Let the Lord handle it. Excuse my language again. I'm trying to drive home a point. There are things in life that they're too big for you to handle. They're too big to deal with. They're too big to fight against. You have to learn to give it to the Most High. You understand? How would you know if you're in a situation like that? You seek counsel. Don't take these words and think that every situation just means you should just turn the other cheek and get smacked and be abused and be taken advantage of. Get counsel to know if the situation you're dealing with is one where you should just let it be, or if it's one where you should fight. Everybody understands. Um, but some of the examples that I've discussed during this class, those are ones where if we had been raised properly, if we had been given the right guidance that we needed, we could have let things go when we were children, as opposed to wanting to seek revenge and to get judgment and justice and vengeance, because all that does is perpetuate a cycle of death and destruction that does nothing for us as far as building a community. All right. Next scripture we're going to is Romans chapter 12, verse 17. Romans 12 and 17, we're going to read on down to verse 21. All right. Romans 12 and 17 says, Hold up. Oh, I already had from 19. Now I want to read from 17 down. Hold up. Well, we could. No, we're gonna read 17. We're gonna do Romans chapter 12, verse 17 down to 21. All right, Romans 12 and 17 says, "Recompense to no man evil for evil." Meaning what? Pay no man back evil for evil. Hold on. Uh, provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lies in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in doing so, thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Everybody, that's the spirit of righteousness. That's the law of righteousness. You understand? To know when to take low, to know when to accept a loss, to know when to say, it's in the Lord's hands, man. The Most High is going to deal with that. He'll handle that situation. There's nothing I can do about it. And these are all important for us to understand and to know in this time that we're living in. Because we're living in a generation that's full of uh, injustice. It's full of unserious people who don't consider the Most High in the things that they do. There's a lot of scammers, a lot of, people that's looking to take advantage, a lot of people that's looking to use you and abuse you. And you must develop the ability to be able to turn the other cheek, to be able to let them have their reward. Somebody steal from you, their reward is that this is a thing I used to hear when I was growing up. Certain situations and circumstances that you just had to charge to the game. Certain things you had to you charge it to the game, right? And it's funny because that was charging it to the game was a term that was used in the streets, really concerning losses you took in the streets. A nigga, you hustling, a nigga getting your stash and steal your dope or steal your money, man, you got to charge it to the game. Or you get pulled over by the police and, you get caught with a gun, now you got to go pay the lawyer to beat the case. You got to charge it to the game. You know what I'm saying? You got a woman, you out there, you got a woman at home, you cheating and having other women sleeping around, lying to her in her face, and you find out she's been sleeping with somebody else, or you find out she hold on you, you got to charge it to the game. You know what I'm saying? That's life sometimes. Some things in life, you got to charge it to the game. And when it comes to living righteously and obeying the Most High, when it comes to changing your life, when it comes to trying to become the person that God called you to be, there's certain situations and circumstances where you got to charge it to the game, man. You know what I'm saying? You gotta let it. You gotta just let it be. It is what it is, man. Ain't nothing you can do about it now. It's water under the bridge. You know what I'm saying? Um, I remember. I'm just gonna tell an example. Had a partner. This cat. Okay, there was this cat that I grew up with, man. His mother was on drugs real bad, and he was like one of my close friends' first cousin. But his mama was on drugs real bad. She used to prostitute herself and stuff, and he just was kind of cat that was. He was a loser, man. He was a loser, but he was a cat that really used to suffer silently, man. There's one thing I say about this cat is they never really heard him complain or whine about his situation, but everybody knew like his mom was on drugs. His dad, I don't know what his dad's situation was, but it was him and his little brother. and he was like maybe a couple years younger than me. But I used to see the cat all the time. You know what I'm saying? Hang out with him and stuff like that. And I used to feed him and give him little things. And I always felt bad for this cat. You know what I'm saying? But I used to look out for him. He was cool, man. He was like my nigga. We used to hang out. I used to go to work, come home. We, you know what I'm saying, hang out or whatever. And I used to look out for this cat. And I remember one time I let him ride in my car. We was doing something we was doing. I had just bought a little camcorder. And I had was excited about this camcorder, man. It was one of them little handheld cameras. I used to record videos and stuff. And I remember one time after work, man, I went and picked him up. He rode around with me, running some errands and stuff, and I dropped him off. Man, the nigga stole my camera. And man, I was so mad that the nigga stole my camera, man. I knew it was him. Couldn't have been nobody else. I went and told my man about it, like, yo, the nigga so-and-so stole my camera, bro. He was like, man, you gonna get it back? And I was like, nah, bro. Okay. There was I felt bad for this cat because of his situation and his circumstances. And I felt like fighting him or beating him up or confronting him about it, even putting him on blast about it it just would have been cruel to me. Like it was one of them things where not having to be his friend no more was enough for me. Now, I ain't gonna lie. I was mad. That nigga stole my camera, bro. I wanted to fight him and beat him, but then what? Then what? Fight him, beat him. I'm not getting my camera back. I'm gonna beat the money of the camera out of him. No, rather than do any of that, I just never talk to this cat again in my life. Never. He can't get nothing to eat. You can't come by my house. You can't ride in my car. Like I never have to deal with you ever again because I know that you stole my camera. And you know that I know that you stole my camera. But I never confronted him about it. I never said nothing to him. I never charged him with it. You were evil nigga, you was thief, you this and that. He just could never come to my house ever again. And he never once asked me why he couldn't never come in. Like we'd be hanging out and we might have girls over. I'm taking girls in the crib. He try to come through. Nah, you can't come in, bro. You got to roll out, dog. All right, man. I get it with y'all. He'll leave. He never argued with me about it. Never fought with me about it because we both knew, like, nigga, you know what you did. And to me, if all I had to lose was that camera to know that this nigga was a grimy, dirty nigga that would steal from somebody who looked out for him and cared for him the way I did, then he could have the camera. I'm glad I bought the camera so he could steal it, so I could see exactly who he was, so I would never have to deal with this nigga ever again in my life. That's some situations. Now, in the neighborhood, everybody that knew thought I was a bitch. Everybody thought I was a hoe. I know for a fact it was niggas that was like, man, nigga, let that nigga steal that camera. He ain't do shit. But they didn't understand my mindset concerning it. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I even felt like a bitch. I felt like, damn, I let this nigga hold me. But considering everything that had transpired between me and this brother, I used to let this nigga, I had a Cadillac that had broke down and it sat in my mother's backyard. And on nights that this nigga ain't had nowhere to go, I used to let this nigga sleep in my Cadillac. I used to let the nigga sleep in my Cadillac. I used to get a nigga oodles and noodles cups. Like I heat a oodles and noodles cup and bring it out the backyard and sit it under the porch. And he'd come out, he'd come to the back porch and get the little oodles and noodles. Like I cared for this nigga, looked out for him, bro. When his own cousins, his family wouldn't look out for him. They told me that nigga be stealing this and that. And I'm like, I get it. But hey, it ain't hurting me nothing to let him sleep in the backyard. It ain't like it never hurt me to look out for the nigga. I used to get off work, me and this cat got locked up together. I used to get off work and go buy 211 beers. We used to buy 211s, just sit and drink the 211s and talk trash. Once I did some stupid shit. Only time I got locked up in my life, I got locked up with this nigga. We in the alley drinking 211s. But that was my nigga though. But when he stole that camera, bro, it was like, you a bitch ass nigga, bro. All the shit I done did, all the ways that I was there for you, bro, you gonna steal. Like, if you needed bread, you could just ask me, my nigga. I would have threw you $100 or something. But he did that, and it was like, he's dead to me. Even today, I don't think all the times I go back home and I see folks and I holler at niggas and be out places, I ain't never seen this cat. I don't even know if he's still alive. I ain't never seen this cat after. I can't remember the times I seen him after he stole that camera from me, but I say all that to say there's certain situations and circumstances, man, you got to just let them be. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But that's the law of righteousness. The law of righteousness was Christ came and showed us how to go above the black and white of if somebody does something, if somebody goes against the law, this is the way you punish them. The point that we were supposed to get from God's law was these are the things that you are never to do. Never steal, never rob, never lie, never deal deceitfully with someone. You know, never take advantage of a brother or sister, never abuse anyone, never hurt anyone. Treat your brother the way that you want to be treated. Like that was the spirit of God's law. Israel did not understand that. We thought that it was okay to sin as long as we could be forgiven, as long as we could, make a sacrifice. It took Christ coming to give us the example of what it looks like to truly live by the law and to be obedient to the Most High, even in the event that it may cost you your life. And in 2024, it's time that we learn these lessons and pass them on to our brothers and sisters in the world, to teach them to, let them uh, be established as a standard in our community of how we go about dealing with one another and dealing with situations. Only by embodying the spirit of righteousness and the spirit of Christ and establishing that law of righteousness amongst ourselves can we hope to have any chance of establishing the kingdom that God envisioned in the beginning when he gave this law to Moses. I don't have nothing else to say on it. With that, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge out of 1 West 125th Street in Harlem, New York. Since 1969, we've been teaching so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians the truth according to the Bible. What is the truth? The truth is that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians descend from the greatest people that have ever walked the face of the earth. The Bible identifies us as the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. In the year 2024, there's nothing more important than for God's chosen people to learn the truth of who we are, where we come from, and what our purpose is on the earth. With that, you brothers and sisters tuning in, you got family, loved ones, people you care about in the Memphis, Tennessee, and surrounding areas, get them in contact with the ISUPK. School address is 3000 Walnut Grove Road, Suite 215. The calling number is 901-249-0085. Again, we have these classes Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central. You brothers and sisters, come to the school, man. Come learn, come grow. Let's become the nation the Lord called us to be. With that, shalom, Israel.